Welcome guys, we're going to be teaching you about how to set up your loadouts to be the most efficient for PvE. The way you do this is that you need to have one of your classes unlocked alongside your main class, and this way you're able to set up enchants on your alt class, and then your main class will just have weapon swaps. If you are doing PvP and have multiple setups based on if you do KVM or GVG, please note you'll need another class that can swap to the same weapon that you're using on your main class. Just because there's so many different types of race damage enchants that you can get, that you need 6 slots in order to ensure that you have all of 6 slots used for the different race enchants on the weapon. So with that being said, let's get started. So my main class is Guillotine Cross. I have a PvE loadout in which my gear is set up to be PvE. I have cards that are set up to be PvE. If you guys don't know about the loadout system, it's in your class section. You click on the different loadouts and you can change between them as well as save the loadouts. So by saving them, you automatically ensure that that the class itself, whenever you swap to it and the loadout you swap to it, the cards and everything will all be saved. So that's one thing that's really valuable with the loadout system, is that it helps you to ensure that you're doing everything you can to be able to be efficient, as well as not have to constantly change your cards or anything like that. Okay, so I have a PvE loadout, I have a PvP loadout. In my first loadout, I have, since I only use really 5 different types of race enchants on my weapon, I have it set up so that my main one will already be carrying an enchant, for example, insect in this case, as well as having 4 different weapon swaps. In one of them, I also have the accessories that I will be using to swap just the accessories enchant for. And then in the final one, I have, in my other loadout for the other class, I have the various talisman enchants. So those include size as well as the element. So neutral, water, earth, shadow, and there's one more I can't seem to be remembering which one that is. Neutral, water, earth, and shadow. So yeah, those are the 4 that you can have, as well as medium and large and small. Small for me, I don't really use, mainly because I don't target Eclipse or Dragonflies, so I don't really need the small enchants, but if you have them, obviously you'll need to use the final slot here. However, I currently have it set up as my AFK range PvE slots or loadout, so that's why I don't use this one, nor do I have small enchants, but you can simply just use this first slot or another one of the slots that you have in your loadout for that purpose. If you do want to set up your weapons to be able to make it a little bit more easier, this is the way I found it to be most effective. In the past, I've also done it so that the accessories for the size are all in one, so including large, large, large for the talisman, and then medium, medium, medium for the accessories plus talisman. But this way you're able to not have to constantly figure out where your medium is on your accessories versus where your medium is on the talisman. This way you're ensuring that when you swap and you're using an element, you just have to swap to that specific enchant for that talisman. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Whenever you swap, you would go to your size enchants. So swap to your weapon plus size. If you want to use brute, you would swap it. But if you don't want to use large, for example here, I would just turn this off. And so then that way I'm only swapping over the brute. However, if it's the other way around, where for example right now I have the medium, I would just swap in the large and keep my weapon enchant the way it is right now as insect, and then swap over to the talisman swap. Let's say I'm going to go fight what's it called? Dark Priest. Dark Priest, for example, I would use the medium because the race of Shadow is not for Dark Priest. The race of Shadow is, Dark Priest's race or element, for example. Let me clarify. Dark Priest's element is undead, and so in that case, you would want to use an undead on your talisman. However, there's no enchant for undead, and so therefore I would use medium. However, if I was fighting doppelganger instead, then I would use shadow because the doppelganger's element is actually shadow. So in that case, I'm already set up to go. If I were to go fight, let's say, a Ferroni, I would use the neutral comparatively to the shadow or the large. Main reason that you want to be using elements from Alberta enchants is because it adds to the multiplier damage that you do in total across PvE. And that way you're actually adding more damage output than using large on your talisman and 0 on your element enchant instead. So yeah, that's a little bit about how to set up loadouts. Hopefully that helped. If you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, have a great rest of your day. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Touché.